Okay. Right. So now we all learned about how bad misinformation is, right? And Sanjay also talked about how making laws might not be the best approach to solve this, right? So it's really up to each of us and what we can really do about misinformation. Okay. So can everyone see my presentation? Okay, cool. Right. So it
Yeah.
kind of falls on our shoulders because of that, right? So uh, what are the things we can do? First, I think the most important thing is we need to learn to spot information. Right, this is super important. Sanjay already covered this in detail, right? But make sure like you also think about what we talked about at the start about why misinformation exists when things are complicated, when things are mysterious. All of that, keep that in the back of your head when also trying to spot misinformation. The second thing is you should always verify everything. Right now, that can sound really annoying, especially to do every day. Every piece of information you get, you should verify it because we talked about how misinformation is everywhere now because it's so easy to share this misinformation and make this information, right? So make sure you don't ignore things because of things like the infinite scroll, right? Make sure you fully read things, right, to verify them. You can also check, as Sanjay pointed out, reputed news sites because their reputation is on the line if they make false claims. Also, there are these fact-checking websites, right? So we had asked this in the questionnaire, right? So in Sri Lanka, there's factcheck.lk by Verity Research is really great in terms of fact checking. International stuff, you can check a website like PolitiFact, right? So there are these fact checking websites that can be really helpful when you're not sure about information, right? But make sure again that these are reputed fact checking websites, right? Because anyone could make a fake fact checking website as well. There's nothing stopping someone from doing that, right? And also, just simply asking an expert, if you see a WhatsApp message saying if you steam and you're going to cure the coronavirus, just ask your doctor, right? Or ask a relative who's a doctor, or just confirm it with someone who has the credentials, who've done the work to become an expert on that topic, right? So that's important. So always verify everything you see on the internet. Thirdly, okay, so I think, like it's everyone's responsibility and duty not to spread misinformation. So if you come across it, try and break the chain, right? So even on certain social media, I think on Facebook, you can flag something as misinformation, you can report it, right? You can also provide counter information. Now, Nishan will kind of tell you about how to do this tactfully, right? Without just making fun of someone or making them angry, right? Nishan will talk about this after my presentation. Also, I think something that's really important is that if you accidentally share something that you realize is wrong later on, it can be really embarrassing to admit it. But I think again, it's your duty to make sure you correct it and tell people you shared it that it was wrong, right? So that's also really important to break that chain and provide the counter information. Okay, so number 4 is this idea that you have to develop a sense of curiosity, right? And I call this kind of like building up your own immune system, right? So because before we even come across like false information, we all need to build up a natural curiosity, right? We talked about how we live in the information age, so why not use the power of the internet, right? Without there are some people who willfully like to be ignorant, right? But with all this power, with all this information, right, make an effort to learn and expand your knowledge, right? So I feel, I don't know, personally, I feel that everyone needs some basic science and maths knowledge, right? And I know most of you guys, because of school and stuff, are probably like, you science and maths and stuff, right? But screw school, right? Take the time to learn from more interesting sources, right? There's amazing books, podcasts, YouTube shows, documentaries, right? Or you might even have really great teachers in your school, right? But my point is, don't let school destroy the interest in these kind of topics, right? Again, when you're trying to learn these things, try and make sure you're getting it from trustworthy source, right? Because learning things like psychology, for example, and how your brain works, how your body works, or even basic information about like nutrition can really help you understand what is false information and what is not, right? And I think at this time and age that we're living in, everyone needs this basic level of understanding, right? You don't have to be like Chris and be like a full-on doctor, but having a basic idea of how your body and your brain works, I think is very important. Same when it comes to maths knowledge, I think like basic understanding of probability and statistics, because it's really manipulated a lot, right? So for example, very simple thing like understanding the difference between correlation and causation, right? So in this graph, right, you see that there's the black graph, sorry, the red graph shows the cheese consumption per capita in a population, right? And the black graph shows you the number of people who died by becoming tangled in their own bed sheets, right? So you can see that the graphs look very similar, right? So this is an example of correlation, but obviously eating cheese doesn't cause you to get tangled up in your own bed sheet and die, right? So this is a funny example, but you won't believe how many people don't understand this basic difference, especially when it comes to more believable things. That the relationship between correlation and causation is not that clear, right? Also, I think basic knowledge in like law, econ, and basic knowledge in politics and history, I think it's important. Learning about new technology and staying up to date. So this is a video of Pumi.
Cyberbullying, guys.
Pumi on her VR headset, right? So, we're talking about like fake news articles now, right? And we have things like deepfakes and things like that, right? And soon we'll have VR experiences, right? That is fully like full of sound and visuals and emotional experiences that make you believe wrong things, right? And like just like our parents can't keep up with just our phones, soon we won't be able to keep up with how much of misinformation is coming our way through these different types of technology. Okay, so I know this sounds like a lot of things to learn, and I won't lie to you guys, right? This is hard, right? Like trying to keep in touch with all these topics and subjects and things like that. But I don't want you guys to feel hopeless and feel like it's this scary thing that you can't do, right? Because what's great about learning and this idea of curiosity is it's a lifelong process, right? No one can suddenly, snap of a finger, just get all the knowledge in the world, right? Something you have to keep on working on throughout your life. But what's important is at your age, I think it's really important to start, right? Start somewhere, start building up the natural curiosity. It makes life more interesting, right? So I want all of you guys to think of yourselves as researchers, as investigators, as active, intelligent citizens of this planet, right? And I want you guys to think of yourselves that way, and also spread this idea to your friends and your community, right? Because remember, the gap between the smart people and the dumb people are getting wider, right? The smart are getting smarter, the dumb are getting dumber, right? So you have to ask yourself which side of this equation you want to be in. Okay. All right. So finally, this is a little bit of a philosophical point, right? And that's like, what is truth? Okay. So truth is actually complicated, right? Things don't always have one clear reason. And what makes it worse is the world is full of bias, right? People are always trying to gain some sort of profit, some sort of motive, right? And this is true of even mainstream news. And we told you guys to trust reputed sources and stuff, right? Even experts can be wrong, or even experts can lie to you, right? Now, but I need to make it absolutely clear. This doesn't mean you should feel hopeless and not believe anyone, right? It doesn't mean that experts and all of mainstream news is all alike, right? It's still better than trusting some random person on the internet, right? So all I'm saying is have a healthy level of skepticism, right? Don't go, oh no, like I can't believe in anything now, right? But have a healthy level of skepticism. Question everything that comes in front of you, right? You have to do this in this day and age, right? Because it's not like 100 years ago where, you could go to a library and get information. Information is directly there in front of us every day. So you need to develop these skills. All right. The other thing is you also need to remember you can be wrong too, right? And can easily be inside one of those echo chambers that I was talking about, right? So don't be arrogant, right? As I mentioned, have a healthy level of curiosity and the humbleness to accept that you could be wrong as well, right? So like if you're, for example, sharing a lot of angry articles and getting emotional a lot on the internet, it's probably a sign that you're in one of these echo chambers, right? So be self-aware and think about it, right? So even just being able to say, I don't know, is one of the best qualities I think a person can have, and something that you can develop from your age itself, right? And I think realizing that truth is complicated and there can be multiple sides to a story is really important. And that's why what Nishan is going to talk about now is going to be super important. So I hand it over to Nishan.
All right, thanks. Before I go into my section, I just I just remembered I laughed at Fumi's fighting video, but then I remembered Fumi is actually a black belt. So sorry, Fumi, I didn't want to offend you. Malin knows, Malin. You
That one's totally, definitely a lie, but I feel dumb. I'm not sure if that is actually a video of Piumi. Was that actually a video of Piumi?
That was
that was
actually a
it.
video
Yeah,
of
that was
him.
Fumi.
Yeah, that was
Okay.
Yo,
him.
Fumi,
And
yeah,
also,
don't piss Fumi off, man. Don't you doubt Fumi.
also Pumi is she's actually a black belt.
Yeah, she's actually a black belt.
Okay, now go
You
back to
can see
that
by
now.
her,
Enough.
yeah. So those moves wouldn't fly in a boxing ring, but yeah, but yeah, she's actually a black
Okay,
belt.
enough
Yeah, so
cyberbullying, guys.
basically, if I ever piss off Pumi, there's like a lot of domestic abuse that happens in our house.
Fake
Yeah,
news.
Phoebe beats Marlene up like whenever she's mad. But yeah. Okay, so let's just go into the how to handle disagreements. This is this is not it. No.
Yes.
Yeah,
Sorry.
next one.
Sorry.
No.
No.
Yeah. Okay. So just check in on what the current culture around disagreements are. So currently, I know even I and most of you would have the tendency to call people out publicly, ridiculing them and then shaming them whenever they post something of of misinformation, disinformation, whatnot. So now, as satisfying as this may be, there's a catch. Now, going on the offensive towards someone's preconceived notions might get their defenses up and make the conversation counterproductive. Now, you see this happening in comment threads, sorry, on the web, and where people are arguing to be the better arguer as opposed to having verified information, and sometimes it ends up a person attacking another person as opposed to discussing the idea or fact. Um, so, yeah, and sometimes and so yeah, how can we go about changing the culture around disagreements? So number one is hear them out, understand where they're coming from, understand why they believe what they believe, and why they believe what they say, the context of how they came about to believing in these so-called truths that they hold dear. Because it might be also because people around them believe in this, like the concept of echo chambers Marlene said earlier. So listen to what they have to say without denying them outright. And number two is share the information that you have. So now, by this time, and before you share your information, hopefully you have properly checked on your information and verified it from reliable sources. And when in doubt on how to go about doing this, just remember what Martin said earlier on how to verify your information. And number three is question their point of view without shaming them or ridiculing them. Just ask questions like, why do you think that is the case? Do you think your source is reliable? Or is there potential harm your belief might cause? Now, remember when you go into an argument, don't go in looking like a know it all. You know, especially if you consider this when you're talking to your parents. Yeah. Now they might have this idea of what is right, what is wrong, and they will think that they have the ultimate truth. So yeah, and also remember that they have an ego and will be too proud to admit even if they're wrong. So the last thing you want is to last thing rather they'd want is to listen to someone who they think is a smartass. So yeah, approach them diplomatically, tactfully, and in a friendly manner. And number four is don't get aggressive or lose your temper. Now, getting emotional might, trigger emotions in other people that you're arguing against. And, and that would lead to the two of you who are arguing against, each other to be arguing against who needs to be validated or even who can be heard the loudest in a room as opposed to, what is actual fact. And finally, understand that it's okay to have disagreements. What's important here is that you had a civil conversation that might, open the other person up, or even yourself, to hearing out ideas that are out there, to people's different views, and to approach them in a more productive manner. And that is progress. Okay, that's about it. Malik?
Right. Thanks, Nishant. So I hope everyone learned something and keeps an eye out for misinformation and also develops their own immune system against all of this stuff and also share it with their friends. So now let's move on to the fun part, the creative collaboration part. So Yumi and I will put you guys into breakout rooms. While we put you guys into breakout rooms, you all can discuss like if there are any questions and stuff. I think Sanjit, Nishan, and Chris can answer while Yumi and I sort this.
Or any experiences. Actually.
Any experiences, comments?
So I have a question. How do you guys usually, do you guys have like family groups on WhatsApp and stuff? Yes.
Of course they
no?
do.
Okay.
My
Yeah,
one is called the Ministry of Home Affairs.
Oh my God. Wait, hold on. Mine was, okay. Okay, mine is much more boring. It's just family updates with some emojis. And in this, they share just insane things, man. My dad, especially, he used to do this back in the day when there was no WhatsApp on email. So he used to work abroad, and like every other day, he used to send some ridiculous email. With you sometimes have those competitions that you can, add your email and it just goes nowhere. Yeah, he used to do that a lot, and now he's pretty much doing that on WhatsApp, and then sharing like what you said, Sanjit, earlier, just information or other misinformation with all these emojis, bad spellings, and all of that. I'm just curious, do you guys get those as well in your family groups? Yeah. Oh, yeah, I see. How do you go about managing them though? Like, how do you tell, hey, mom, dad, yeah, that's just bullshit. How do you do that?
I don't intend to do this, but I kind of scene zone my father, and then I just don't get a reply to it because it's just.
That's the first time I heard that expression, but I immediately understood what it meant.
Wait, you don't know what scene zone is? You haven't been
I've
scene
never
zone?
heard that expression. I've heard
Man,
left on red, blue ticked.
Oh, good.
I
Scene
haven't
zone is a
heard
thing.
scene
Like,
zone. I haven't heard
yeah,
that.
you know how back in the day you had friend zone, bro zone, and now you also have scene zone. So you are telling me you never message someone, I don't know, some girl that you like or something, and then they just see your message and don't reply to you at all.
Who are you talking to?
I'm talking to you, man.
Sanjit,
Yeah.
I only said that I had never heard that term. I've experienced it plenty.
Oh, you have
And I've heard it being called
yes,
other things.
that's what it is.
But
That's
I've
what it is.
never,
I'm just
I've never
trying to
heard
get.
the
I'm
term.
trying to get an example. But yeah, that's it. So yeah, it's sometimes very complicated because you also have to decide if you want to engage them or not, right? Sometimes if you actually engage someone who's spreading misinformation, you will have to be prepared with what is more correct information.
All right, everyone. We've assigned the rooms. We can move in and we'll have 20 minutes. Sorry, half an hour.
Yeah. So let's have a chat about what you think, any experiences you've had, and we'll talk about what kind of PSA we want to do regarding misinformation.